to the Europe, I was able to share the Shiatsu with the European teachers, especially in Italy last month. They invited me at the physio conference, and there was over 250 or 300 people at the conference room. The energy was very powerful. Everybody was so focused and enjoyed the gift from the God, gift from the universe. And I am grateful. Some of the teachers, Tom and with Grandma with the Jade, you guys study with the Hashi program. You guys are the foundation of our program. And I am so grateful to be able to pass the knowledge with other people. And I was so grateful to call everybody to come to this beautiful space. One of our teacher, David Cotter, he was foundation of this institute with Brian, and David is not here with us, but he's also give us so much wisdom, knowledge about yoga and Shiatsu, and also Kamehani. I'm so grateful to her teachings, and some of the teachers are here because of Pamela. And I am grateful to everybody who being touched by Shiatsu, and I am so honored and grateful and happy to share the healing touch, the power of touch. And I believe there's so much need of Shiatsu. We have to be courageous, we have to be gentle, we have to be powerful to keep going with Shiatsu, so more people will be able to touch the gift of Shiatsu. And thank you for being here. And let's enjoy togetherness, let's enjoy being here today, tomorrow, and the after. I hope everybody will enjoy. It's such a beautiful space, and food is great. And I heard some of you already went to the lake and swam, refreshed. It's such a gift, and please enjoy. It's such a short period of time, and we have such a great teachers here. And let's have a great time. And this is Tom. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I have a strong voice like you.
You're going to use the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, you got this?
Yes.
So this
Tom
has
is
to
a
be.
teacher at the Swedish Institute. He trained so many massage students, and Simone, Tom, Jackie, and some of Ohashi graduates are giving the grades. Alex, the wife of Tom, they met at the Ohashi Institute, and they are still keep going together. Their love is tremendous.
And then I'm going to do, this is for the other part.
Testing.
Students.
Yeah, so Hashi always likes to say how he introduced Alex and myself.
Yes.
And that was 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still remember you guys so sweet. The institute.
Thank you, Kumiko.
And they adopted the little girl from China.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. There's all kinds of. That's right. There's all kinds of stories associated with all of this. But thank you for bringing this. You know, it's not an easy task to do something like this.
Well, now I have a great assistant.
Okay.
You cannot see it, but they're here. Yeah.
But to bring.
Team was great.
Yeah, but you have a lot of force to bring this into fruition, just like Ohashi. Thank you for all that you do. And so my name's Tom Banasiak. And as I told Kumiko, I remember she was like 11 years old running around Ohashi Institute when I was there. But I want to talk about spirituality and Shiatsu, the renaissance of Shiatsu. Like we're coming into a new time here. Let's see.
So everybody can move around and look at the screen. Or, yeah?
Yeah.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, make yourself comfortable. We're going to do a meditation, though. That's like the first thing here. What I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to start with a little chakra meditation, just going right into spirituality right away. But then I'll talk about a little about Matsunaga and Kishi and Ohashi and Serizawa. And then, of course, how can I not talk about Pauline and her quantum work and quantum physics and how this expands into the chakras. Well, this is going to link into one Hawaiian forgiveness ritual, Ho'oponopono, which you may know. And then I want to talk about the planetary alignments and how that works with our energy, because this is what's interesting to me. Because this is not the 70s or the 80s. There's a whole new realm of planetary influences which affect us and affect the way we work. I'll show you some points to expand consciousness, which is, for me, that's like the whole point of Shiatsu. When I started doing Shiatsu in whatever it was, 80 something, I was a ballet dancer. And I happened to be walking on 55th Street and I saw Shiatsu Education Center of America. And I said, oh, that looks interesting. So I went up there and I talked to, I don't know who I talked to, but I signed up for 10 classes. And that was the beginner 1 level. And the first class, someone was kneeling on the back of my legs, and she didn't know anything like I didn't know anything. But at that time I had a little sciatica. And so she knelt on the back, like bladder 36 area. And the muscles just got a little tighter and then it just relaxed. And I thought, oh, I should start studying this. So I took the beginner 1 level, then I went out and practiced on all the dancers. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew more than they did. And so I would just practice on it. Then I came back to New York and took another intensive course and went out on tour again. And that went on for a couple of years. And then I moved to Europe. I lived in Germany for about 9 years, where I started studying with German and Japanese teachers. But anyway, I don't want to talk about me. But points to expand consciousness. And also, what's big these days are the polyvagal nerve theory. And just working with that to soften the whole nervous system, which relaxes people and puts them more into a conducive state. Hi.
Does someone have an extra pen?
An extra pen?
Yes, I have a little pen.
I have one too, if nobody else does.
Thank you.
Okay. All of a sudden you have 10 extra pens coming. And then I do this other meditation. It's called a microcosmic orbit meditation, which is about opening the points on governing vessel and conception vessel. Sort of bringing you, recreating like the birth experience for you, because like when you're born, you're perfect and it's all downhill from there. But it's just like to bring your energy back, to your center so you can renew and start again. So the one thing, let's just sit yourself in a comfortable position. I usually sit in a chair. Let me sit in this chair. But sit yourself in a comfortable position and think about energy going down through your spine, through the bottom of your torso, and down deeper into the earth. So this is your grounding point. Take a few breaths here. This is where you're held by the earth, you're grounded. Now, as you breathe up, think about breathing, a brilliant white color in through the bottom of your torso, through your spine, out through the skull, up the top of your head. So you think about this brilliant red light just surrounding you. And of course, the thought you have here, that you have the right to be and you have the right to have. And this is centering yourself, into your sacrum, the lower part of your sacrum. And stay soft. And take another breath. And think about bringing, like a brilliant sunset orange color into the front of your lower abdomen. And also into the back of your lower abdomen also. And this brilliant sunset orange color sort of permeates your existence. And you feel a softening and you feel a strength in your lower abdomen. And you have the right to feel. On a physical, on an emotional, and a mental level. And then take another breath. And think about bringing a beautiful sunlight yellow color into the front of your solar plexus area, around your navel, and also at your back. And this yellow color then permeates all of your existence, surrounding and encompassing your aura. And of course, here you have the right to do something, to accomplish something in your life. And take another breath. And then you can picture a brilliant greenish color coming into the heart center, the heart chakra, into the front, into the back, enlivening your being with this greenish energy. And here you realize you have the right to love and also the right to be loved. And this chakra expands for your whole being. So this color is surrounding you. Take another breath. Think about breathing in a brilliant bluish color into your throat. In and around your throat and around your aura. This beautiful blue color. And you realize you have the right to speak. And you also have the right to be heard. And take another breath. Now you can inhale a beautiful purplish amethyst color into the third eye, in and around the head. This is your sixth chakra. So there's brilliant blue colors around your aura. You have the right to see and also to be seen. And this will go up to the crown point, the top of your head, Bahui. You can envision a brilliant white light coming into the crown chakra, through the torso and down through the base of your spine. So here you're elongating your spine, and you have the right to know and also to be known. Now take all this energy and bring this higher above your head. Bring yourself as a ball of white light, just raising higher into the sky. Where you're going up and expanding your chi. where this ball of white light sort of dissolves and you realize you are part of everything and everyone. This is where you're expanding so much, you're getting into like a God consciousness. That you are realizing, the spirit within you. This is where you can go into a theta brainwave state and, create miracles within yourself. Just take a few breaths. Now, to a certain extent, you've forgotten where your body is. But we're going to bring this energy back downward. So start bringing this energy back into the crown chakra and into the sixth, the third eye, yin tang, and into the throat chakra. And you feel a sense of expansion through your heart. And the solar plexus. And a deep grounding at the sacrum. And you can bring energy downward through the knees, through bladder 40, through kidney 1, back deep into the earth. So you feel your grounded center. Now, if your eyes are closed, slowly open your eyes, but don't look at anything. Just go into a distant vision, just a stare. And notice your breath. Now start to move your fingers and move your hands. And you can take your fingers and you can do a little pressure around the eyes, around the forehead. It's almost like washing your face. You can take your fingertips and go through your scalp to the back of your neck, to the front of your throat. Rest your hands on your lower abdomen, one hand on top of the other, just for a minute, and take a few breaths. So this is a little meditation just to open the chakras. If you do this, often enough, you start to feel changes within how your sense of perception is. By the way, if you put your hands on your lower abdomen, notice which hand you put on top. If you put the left hand on top, you're usually yin dominant. If you put the right hand on top, you're usually yang dominant. That's why, like in all ancient Chinese books, they would say, if you're a man, put your right hand on top, and if you're a woman, put your left hand on top. But those rules don't work anymore. You just do what you feel. But anyway, this is a little meditation to open the chakras. I think I got this from Pauline, basically. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Shiatsu now. And you know all these names. Namakoshi, Sarazawa, maybe not Sarazawa that much. But, Namakoshi, of course, he was like a Shiatsu god in Tokyo. I think he ran for mayor of Tokyo. He didn't win, but he was very influential in bringing Shiatsu to knowledge. It was an ancient technique that was sort of like didn't have much credibility. But Namakoshi gave it a lot of credibility. It's funny how things get known, but there was this American actress who was deathly ill and nobody could cure her. So she went to Namakoshi, and of course she got much better. And her name was Marilyn Monroe. And so then in all the newspapers, it was Shiatsu cures Marilyn Monroe. So all of a sudden people are thinking, what is Shiatsu? It's funny how things get started. But Namakoshi was a very powerful figure. Serizawa, you might not know that much about Serizawa. Serizawa was a brilliant, he was a fellow at Tokyo University. And he had a very good affinity for what points were good for what conditions. And partly maybe because Serizawa was blind. And maybe his senses were working in another realm. So if you look at his book, I think it's called Tsubo Therapy, which is probably 1976 when all these books were written. You look for migraines, you look up the pages, you look at page 34. It says migraines, Odu, bladder 10, gallbladder 20, large intestine 4, large intestine 10, stomach 36, gallbladder 34, liver 3, liver 4, liver 3. It's not the best way to learn Shiatsu or do Shiatsu, but if you're stuck and you want to know what points are good for what, he wrote this book and he was very good about this, okay? Masunaga, of course, was unique. Masunaga was trained by Namakoshi, but then he branched off into his own thinking about what Shiatsu should be. And, in the beginning with everybody, but with Masunaga, there were no meridians. Nobody taught meridians. He was just teaching pressure and techniques. Meridians came later on. It was sort of during the US occupation of Japan in the late 40s or early 50s, when they wanted to get sort of rules what makes Shiatsu Shiatsu. To make it separate from Anma therapy and different therapies. So that's when they came up with meridians. And Masunaga is always criticized for his meridian charts. You see them all the time by Kumiko. Because they're very vague. They're very vague, And they're not like acupuncture meridian charts, which are so precise, so exact. But the meridian charts, basically the meridians, according to Masunaga, only exist if they needed to exist. So you can have 12 meridians crammed in around the ankle, but really only one is there. And this is what Kyoin Jitsu is really. If you have, if you wake up and you feel fine, you feel good. But if you wake up with a pounding headache, something's trying to get your attention. That's the Jitsu meridian. The Kyo is the mystery. Where's the Kyo? Jitsu, I know where the Jitsu is. The Kyo is the mystery. That's with hara evaluation. When you're palpating hara, basically you're only looking for the meridians that are off. And those are the ones that are going to get your attention. If you concentrate on opening your spine, opening up your center, opening up your energy, so you're going to put your hand on a person and let them either pull you in or push you away. Which is sort of what Kyo and Jitsu are about. Okay? But this is what Masunaga's deal was. Masunaga, sadly I missed him. The only one I know in the room here who worked with Masunaga is Jade over here. And Masunaga was wonderful. Karen too. Karen disappeared a second. Yeah. 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 But you can go on YouTube and find videos of Masunaga working. It's very impressive. It's very impressive. Kishi, oh my God, Kishi. Kishi was something else. Kishi, of course, was Masunaga's demonstrator for like 10 years. because Masanaga hated to demonstrate. He liked his theory, but he got Kishi to do everything. Kishi became very good at all this. He was really Masanaga's protege designed to carry on the Masanaga Zen Shiatsu tradition. But Kishi had his own ideas. He did that to as far as he could go, and then he wanted to do something else. And so in true lineage form, he learned everything he could and mastered everything he could about Zen Shiatsu. And then he took it a step further and created something new. And Saiki is not Shiatsu. As much people think it's Shiatsu, but it's really not. It's something else. And I studied with Kishi. When I lived in Germany, he taught in Hamburg. So occasionally when I could, I would go to Hamburg and take some classes with him. But with Kishi, those are the days he was working very much off the body. And there was not much discussion about what to do and why to do it. Here we talk everything to death. But with Kishi, it was just, he would come into the room, he would see the person there, he would sort of walk around the person a couple of times and get a feel of their energetic field. And then he would go very firmly and quickly to one spot and do some very hard pressure, do some very, very deep treatments there. And then back away, maybe then do that again. And then after this was his demonstration. After his demonstration, he would say, "Okay, do it." Do it. He felt you can't talk about how to do this. If you talk about Seiki, you're not doing Seiki anymore. It's sort of like a mystery. It's a mystery teaching. But, the students, we were there and we were impressed enough with him to try and figure out, what is he doing? But this is traditional Japanese teaching of Shiatsu. You just do it until you feel it. And nobody needs to tell you what to do. But Kishi was so interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't study with him as much as I would have liked. But he was, you did?
Yes.
Yeah.
I studied with him on 2 weekend occasions in Toronto. His colleague, my teacher Tetsuro Sato brought him in. And it was very similar where he would talk.
Yeah.
He would be very inspiring. And like writing down notes.
Right.
His answer was always like, "You're thinking too much."
Yeah.
And then he would show you, and it was very much about exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm curious when you're studying, because at the time he was very much about light pressure. It was very much this, exactly as you described.
Oh,
but
yeah.
When I saw him, which is kind of fitting in with this style, which was very much about just being in the moment and being what it is.
Yeah. He was very much off the body at that point too. He would always criticize Pauline for doing too much pressure. Yeah. But he was like off the body. He would like follow the energy out of the room sometimes. It was truly a unique experience to study with Kishi. But there's Alice Wielden. Alice is wrote the book with Kishi, and you can get a little understanding of what he was trying to do by reading that book, and it's a wonderful book. But that was Kishi. Yeah. Ohashi was amazing. Ohashi was a very powerful figure. He still is. I feel so bad for him right now because Bonnie just passed away. They were married in the 70s, I think. So they were together like 50 years or something. And Bonnie was lovely. If you remember Bonnie, she was Ohashi was the showman, and Bonnie sort of made everything run behind the scenes. So Bonnie was very powerful in that respect. But and I'm sad she's gone. But this is life. But Ohashi, Ohashi came to America to study Black history. He went to Howard University in Washington. Literature?
That's what I heard.
Well, that could be true also. I heard Ohashi say Black history. But he said he was a terrible student, and they threw him out. I could see that. But he knew Shiatsu. And you know how he learned Shiatsu? He was self-taught. He read books about Shiatsu. And he really didn't have a teacher. So it was interesting, and this is what I mean. He was very powerful, and he was very good. If you ever got a treatment from Ohashi, he's very powerful and very good. And you would go back for more. And so then he gave treatments at the Watergate Hotel, which became famous later on. And he was very successful. He worked on a lot of dancers there too. And they said, "Oh, come to New York." So he did, and he set up some studio near Lincoln Center somewhere. And he started giving treatments there. And then, of course, he started his Ohashi Shiatsu Center of America place, which was his first, location on 55th Street, where I saw him. But, he was very powerful. And, he brought Masunaga to New York. He would go to Tokyo and stay in Kishi's apartment. Everybody stayed in Kishi's house there. And, to study Shiatsu. It's like I owe so much to Ohashi, I can't even, I never see him anymore. But he was a big influence in my life, just like he probably is on you through Kumiko. Very powerful. And of course, this brings us to Pauline. Pauline was another one. Basically Pauline translated with Ohashi his book, Shiatsu, or it was called Karaku Shiatsu, Meridian Shiatsu. But I think the story goes, Ohashi said, "Oh, call it Zen Shiatsu because it's much better." Because in those days, in the 70s, anything that was Zen was very popular. Okay, it was very popular, so let's call it Zen Shiatsu. He was very clever. So when Pauline was translating that book, of course, if you translate a book, you really have to know what it's talking about to put it in another language. So then her thoughts was that, he wasn't finished. He wasn't finished. And so Pauline was attempting to finish his work, I think. And I think I remember reading something about when Masunaga died, he was starting to look into more like the astrological connections with the meridians, and how the planetary influences affect our being. But I'll talk more about Pauline too. But of course, Cliff is amazing. Cliff, I think you all know who Cliff is. He started the Shiatsu College in London, and he has a lot of video classes, which are always wonderful to do. And Cliff, I met Cliff in '89 when he was apprenticing with Pauline. Was it the Zendo? I think it was at the Zendo. But Cliff is another one who has just studied so much Shiatsu and took Pauline's work and, just sort of went with that too. And Pauline's later work was a little far out there, where she would talk more about planetary influences. She was way ahead of her time. Cliff Patrizia. Patrizia Stefanini is a wonderful, lovely woman. Take a class from her if you ever get a chance to. I think she was here last year. Was she here last year? Yeah. Or the year before? Yeah. But she's lovely. She's wonderful also. Because Patrizia is a physicist. So that's why Zen Shiatsu, quantum Shiatsu applied, intrigued her. Okay? Because Pauline studied a lot of physics to come up with quantum Shiatsu also. And of course, Alice. Alice is just wonderful. Just if you're looking to learn anything about Kishi, look to Alice, because she worked with him for 10 years and wrote the book with him and tried to translate his Japanese into English about Seiki. Oops. Here's Masanaga. Masanaga is a lovely guy. Resonance between the client and practitioner is 90% of the treatment. It's how you relate to the person you're working to. Okay? You have to love your clients, even if you don't like them. You have to love your clients. You need a good relationship with yourself and with your clients. And this is, cultivating your spirit, unconditional positive regard. Masanaga was very much influenced by Sigmund Freud and also by Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers was an American psychologist, I think, or English, I forget, who came up with this phrase all the time, unconditional positive regard. Just hold your clients in the highest possible light. And we're human and we're people, we're all messed up and we're all the same. But hold the person that they're doing their best. Hold every client in a positive regard. And this sort of makes it easier for you to meet their energy. Because the whole thing is about meeting their energy. Where do I contact this person? Okay. And sure, if somebody has a bad shoulder or a bad back, you want to work on the shoulder and the back and do some hard physical pressure. But beyond that, you want to see, where is this person? This is what Pauline would talk about all the time. Pauline's only question was, who are you? Who are you? It's a good question. Good question. Oops. Keep thinking it's an iPad. Kishi. There's not a lot of pictures of Kishi. He's like a man of mystery. He's doing like a tea ceremony for his Shiatsu students. That was his idea of class. Let's have a tea ceremony. But he was trying to incorporate presence and spirit into the treatment. Just more of your life into the treatment. Not that you're doing something, but this is your life. This is sort of what Seiki is about. It's not you doing something. It's something happening. And somehow you're taking part in it. But you don't really do anything. You're not that powerful. Eliminate all distraction. Increase your ability to be present. This is meditation. Okay? Meditation. One of the rules, to make yourself more present, is to do some sort of meditation. Any sort of meditation, doesn't really matter. But the thing is, meditate all the time. Don't say, I'm going to sit still and meditate. Meditation is 100% of your attention to whatever you're doing. I'm sure all of you have went to Starbucks and had a cup of coffee with somebody, and you're talking with the person, and all of a sudden you look at your watch and an hour went by. And you thought it was 10 minutes. You were in another zone. Okay? You were in a state of expanded consciousness where nothing else existed, and then time doesn't exist anymore. But when you expand your consciousness, you're more present to what is. And that's, this is a treatment. Constant practice, you do this all the time. All the time. Kishi was wonderful. I miss all these people. Oh, Pauline. Pauline, you work on your own field. You work on your own sense of yourself to expand your energy. Then the client doesn't have a choice. Doesn't have a choice. They have to follow you. Okay? A change in your consciousness. How present you are affects the quantum field in everyone. Okay? I started working with Pauline, I think it was 1989 when she started doing workshops in New York City. So I would do that workshop, and then I would do the next one, and then I would do the next one, and I just kept going back to her workshops for about 20 years, until she died. But she changed Shiatsu the way I know it, the way I think about it. Pauline was way out there, more than anybody realizes. The one thing that she was doing, she was working on, instantaneous healing. I want to change something at a deeper level of existence so people get better right away. She talked a lot about, the new center of your life, center of your existence, which is your spine. Your spine, your central axis, not your hara. Okay, like in martial arts, the lower tanden, this is your center. But in energetic work, the center is the spine. And of course, so you have the energetic vertical center and the horizontal center. So this is why they call it the center of the center. Okay. So, you work on opening your spine, this opens up the etheric field. All of a sudden, you're in a state of meditation. And if you live your life in a state of meditation, it's sort of, I don't want to say easy, but you're more apt to get in touch with people's energy and what their thoughts and feelings are. Okay? Open your work to the etheric field. This is the unfocused eye. Don't look for anything. I remember she used to bring out these magic eye pictures. Anybody remember those? Magic eye pictures. It's three-dimensional pictures. They were made up for kids with vision problems, basically. My wife goes to the eye doctor who made these up. I forget his name. I always forget his name. But you have a picture of a cat, and you have a picture of the head of the cat, and you stare into it until they come together. So you're seeing something that's maybe not there, but you're sort of like getting an expanded view, or expanded sense of your vision. So she would bring these out, and and of course the first time I said, I can't see these because, I was too, I don't know, I was too something. But you just give up, and all of a sudden you see it. You just give up. Okay, that's the whole idea about feeling energy. Just don't try and feel anything. Just give up. Yeah, I don't care. Having like an I don't care attitude about things, because then you let go of the feeling that you have to do something, or you're going to do something, or somebody's going to do something. Change the idea of how reality is constructed. Okay, we are not separate anymore. Okay. We're living in a quantum universe where everything that I feel is something that you feel also. Okay? This is like a new reality. It's always been this way, but we're sort of coming into this realization, for a varied amount of reasons. We're not separate from each other. Touch your clients with your thoughts, through the physical. Well, a lot of times when I'm working, I'm like telling the energy where to go. Come on, let's go here, or let's come here, or do something. I don't say this out loud, or people think I'm crazy. But I'm always like directing the energy with my thoughts. Okay? Kind of thoughts through the physical, use your thoughts as commands. Pauline always say this. Don't ask. You tell people what to do. You tell the energy what to do. Okay? There's a certain amount of force. Spatial imagination, touch on the meridians, expanded presence for contraction or expansion. Everybody knows about this, who's been at all with Pauline. The contracted state is working on the physical. And yeah, like I said, sometimes if somebody has sciatica, you have to do some hard pressure on the leg, or a neck problem, or a shoulder problem, or a back problem. Work on the body. Okay? But when you do that, then they get to expand, because they release that tension. Release that tension. And I do this a lot. I'll work very hard with somebody if they need some hard work, and then I'll work very soft and off the body, even. And I know my clients, she was telling her friend what I do. And she said, I don't really know what he does. I just feel so good afterward. That's I like that compliment. But the expansion contraction techniques, that's all like in Pauline's training, teaching. Give clients suggestions to open the space, find the meridians. Just call the energy to this. What do you need to do? What do you need me to do? Okay, sort of open up your energy so you feel like you're part of their energy. This was the whole trick about quantum Shiatsu. That's not me and you, it's we. Okay, so we're taking planetary vibrations. I'll talk about this a little more, but we're integrating the vibrations of the planets into our existence. And there's a lot of vibrations out there. And, and some people are more sensitive to them and some people are not. But they're there. They're there. I'll talk about this a little more later too. Energy is not vibrating straight lines anymore. This is you know, and this is Pauline in 2010. You know, that she would take the meridians, she would say, like, twirl the meridians. You know, if you're working on the meridian, you know, twirl the meridian. You know, just feed it back into the body and expand it so it expands into the aura. Okay, so then you get a sense of, and you all can feel auras. I know you can. So it's sort of not too difficult, but you know, you sort of this always draws me to where I need to work. You know, where I need to work. Where is there no energy, or where there's too much, or something's off somewhere. Some people see colors. I don't. Expand the multidimensional chi. Your work depends on your range of perception. So you just practice all the time. You just practice all the time. Practice, meditate. This is your life. This is your life. If you told me I would be doing this like 50 years ago, I would have never believed you. But you know, this is what I think about all the time. You know, just how do I work to expand a person's energy so they feel different, so they feel better, so they feel more like who they are, instead of who they think they're supposed to be. You know, which is a big deal with raising your consciousness. Okay, contact the field through the fourth chakra, Christ consciousness. So the fourth chakra, I think that the fourth chakra is more expansive. Okay, you know, ideally we're supposed to, you know, the fourth chakra is basically, there's a personal heart chakra, then universal heart chakra, which most people can get to and open that. But like the fourth chakra has to expand to include the fifth and the third, and then it expands to include the sixth and the second, and the seventh and the first. So basically, we're becoming more like a one chakra system, where this energy of the heart is just expanding. You know, it's a heart energy. This is more powerful. Quantum physics, quantum shiatsu. This is from an old Barbara Brennan book, Hands of Light, this picture. The observer, that is their consciousness, the factor that creates reality from possibility. So a lot of times I'll work at the feet. All the time I'll work at the feet. But, you know, and I usually work on the table. I used to work on the floor. For about 25 years, I worked on the floor. And the floor work is great, but one time I was ice skating, I hurt my knee. And I can't kneel down. And I had like 6 sessions to do the next day. What do I do? You know, I'll set up a table. So I set up a table, and then I just found out, you know, there's a little more lightness to what I'm doing. So I started feeling a little more off the body. Yeah. So that was an eye-opener for me. But, you know, the thing about quantum is everything changes in ourselves when we change something within ourselves, and it changes something with other people too. Okay? People come to you for sessions a lot of times just to be in your presence, because you have such a good energy about you, and they want that. You know, and that's not a small thing. And you develop this is your own spiritual nature coming out. You know, and it tends to make people feel softer, and makes people feel, I didn't even know what I want to say, vulnerable, or just, it makes them feel who they are, okay? Where, you know, I always say, I probably wrote this somewhere, but you want to live your life from inspiration, not from memory. Oh yeah, I remember this, let's do it this. I want to be inspired all the time. You know, that's the work of Shiatsu, how I think of Shiatsu. In the quantum sense, you created everything in your life. You created everything in your life. You created this whole get-together here. Okay? To effect a change in anyone, you need to change yourself. Reality appears as a thought. You can think about the changes going within this person. Okay? You know, that might tend to happen. Well, this is the picture I thought was next. So the fourth chakra, the green one, in the middle, that's the sense of expansion. Because we're in the state of expansion where, there's so many chakras. We talk about these 5 chakras here. Then that's the first and the seventh. But there's the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, chakras at the knees. Bladder 40 is a wonderful minor chakra. So our pericardium, whatever this is, 8, and kidney 1, these wonderful chakras. But we work from the fourth chakra, not so much from our brains. For a long time I would hear about heart-centered work. It sounds very nice, but it is your heart expanding. It's your heart expanding. Healing through the heart is the root of deeper healing. Yeah, heart meridian and the pericardium meridian are extensions of your heart. It's, you think about this, and but when you hold hands with somebody, you hold hands, you're connecting pericardium number 8, which is a connection of your heart with another person. And this point in I think it's Chinese, called the Lao Gong point. And someone said to me, this is the word for husband in Chinese, Lao Gong. Interesting. There's another word, it's Lao Wan or something, that means wife. But this is a point of connection with the heart. So, it's the heart is expanding throughout your body. Same thing through kidney 1. Same thing through kidney 1. The points we use are not as important as our intention or attitude when we're in the healing mode. When you're healing a person through like an energetic conscious healing, you're changing their consciousness. Chakras are a big deal these days. But when we're working with the chakras, when you're doing Shiatsu, you're opening up the chakras, if you know it or not. If you know it and you think about it, it's even more profound. It's even more profound. Oh, this. What is this? Oh, this is, what is this called again? Fibonacci spiral, okay? Which is a big mathematical concept which Pauline brought up a lot. And of course, Metatron's cube. The observer, or their consciousness, is a factor that creates possibility in your treatment, okay? Everything changes when you change something in yourself. Quantum sense, you created everything in your life. I'm sure you've heard variations on this phrase. You created everything in your life. Well, it's actually true, okay? Reality appears as a thought. Now, the way to become more spiritual is this prayer. I'm sorry and I love you. Give yourself up to divinity, okay? And this goes into the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono. Release the memory of who you think you are, okay? And, a lot of people don't think very much of themselves. That's the sad truth. They're convinced by listening to lesser people all the time of how unworthy they are. There's this Ho'oponopono. It's a therapy. There was this, do you guys know this story about how this came into existence? This one Dr. Hugh Len, I think his name is, he was hired to be the psychiatrist or psychologist at this mental hospital for like people who were criminally insane. People who were shackled to the walls all the time. And there were about 30 people, and he was hired to like work with them. And he was hired because everybody else left or quit because it was an impossible situation. So he said, oh yeah, I can work with them. And there were about 30 people, and he had all their files. And he worked with them, and they started to get better. The nurses were no longer in fear for their lives every time they walked down the hall. And the thing of it is, he never met with a single one of them. He never met with a single one of them. And all he did was this. He would read their file, and he would say these phrases. And of course, I'm greatly shortening the story here. But he would say, I'm sorry. And sorry means, you're not asking for forgiveness. you're basically asking you to forgive yourself for being unaware. You know, it's like when you're walking in a department store and you bump into somebody, you say, oh, I'm sorry. You know, you're sorry because you weren't aware that you were walking into somebody. You know, it's no great crime or anything. But a lot of people live their lives being unaware. Okay? So the phrase is, I'm sorry. You forgive yourself for being unaware, any pain you may have inflicted on yourself or others. Okay? A new slate is created. Buddhists call this a void. And in Buddhism, there's a new consciousness, and you know the tools are sort of like compassion and clear seeing. I forget what they're called, aruna and prajna. You know, compassion and clear seeing. And you know, just the thought, I'm sorry, is a very powerful phrase. And please forgive me. Please forgive me doesn't mean, again, you're asking for forgiveness, but you're talking to yourself. Please forgive me for being unconscious. And even when you just think in this direction, it makes you so much more conscious of what you're doing in your life. Okay? And thank you. You know, thank you is gratitude. You know, express gratitude all the time. I am so grateful for these outrageous blessings I have in my life. That, you know, how could I be so fortunate to have all that I have? You know, so this is gratitude. Thank you. And the last one is I love you. This is a high spiritual statement. And this is where you're merging with the divine. Okay? You know, I love all of you. You know, but it's you know, I just like open my heart to the people I'm with. Do this with your clients, but do this with everybody. You know, so the whole meditation is basically, I'm sorry, and please forgive me, and thank you, and I love you. And you direct this at yourself. Not somebody you think you may have wronged or something, but direct it to yourself, just to open up your spirit. And you know, what this doctor did in the psychiatric ward, you know, he realizes, you know, you know, seeing there's a quantum consciousness and a quantum connection, and that somehow, you know, I created this person who's this criminal. So he would read these files and express these thoughts to these people, and one by one, they all got better. You know, except two, they were transferred to a different place, and the ward closed. You know, it's an amazing story, but don't take my word for it. You can look up Ho'oponopono on the internet and read the true story. But this is the meditation. This is meditation. You know, so when you're waiting for the bus, you know, just think, I'm sorry, and please forgive me, and thank you, and I love you. You know, it's just a softening of your heart. But this goes in with quantum consciousness. Now, the solar system, talking about consciousness. Now, you know, and a lot of you probably know astrology much better than I do. But like from the sun to maybe Jupiter or even Saturn or Jupiter, these planets represent like your personality. Your personality. But in the further reaches here, these represent your consciousness. So, when more planets are coming into existence that are being discovered, it means we're ready for an uptake in our conscious level, more consciousness. There's what did I write here? 10 newly discovered planets entering a period of rapid consciousness development. Yeah, Uranus developed our intuition. To the Uranus. Pluto increased our consciousness. A dwarf planet. Neptune represents the mystery school of hidden knowledge. Now, Pauline talks a lot about Neptune also. Sedna. Sedna is the most interesting planet. It's a dwarf planet. It's about as, you know about Sedna? Sedna is amazing. It's the furthest planet that we know of. You know, it takes the Earth 1 year to go around the sun. It takes Sedna 11,500 years to go one time around the sun. That's how far away it is. And what's interesting is, I think Sedna is going to be nearest to the Earth in 50 years, like 2071 or 76 or something like that. Which means a time of great change in the consciousness of the people and the planet. That's what I mean, and we have to sort of take in this planetary vibrations into our consciousness. Because we are changing. We are changing. We are changing as human beings. I think I wrote one more thing about here. Oh yeah. Like a lot of times what Pauline talked about was the lowest octave, in the middle octave, and the higher octave, when you were talking about working at different levels of vibrations, which is all very interesting. Sort of hard to grasp, but very interesting. And like like the moon, everybody knows the moon is like your emotional center. When there's a full moon, people are just emotionally crazy. Okay. And Ceres is a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It's like a newly discovered, not that new, but it's discovered planet. But this is your ability to be loved. And this was a new vibration into the world. And then this further goes into a higher octave, which is Sedna. Heart-centered energy over your lifetimes, not just your life, but different lifetimes. Now, these are planetary energies. Venus, spiritual development, and Haumea is another, dwarf planet, psychic development. We are much more tuned in to be more psychic. Okay? Oh, Make. I didn't make these names up. A heightened sense of intuition. These further planets are just coming to our knowledge, and it's sort of like they're sort of like coming close to Earth and affecting the Earth. But Sedna is the interesting one. Oh, here, this is like 5 element stuff. So Venus sort of represents a metal element. Metal, of course, is like in 5 elements Shiatsu. It's a lung and large intestine. So, by the way, if your birth year ends in a 0 or a 1, you may tend toward metal. I don't want to say imbalance, but you may tend toward metal issues. And Mercury is relating to water, kidney and bladder. So if your birth year ends in, let's see, 2 or 3, you may have a tendency toward kidney or bladder issues. And 3 or 4, it's wood, liver and gallbladder relating to Jupiter. It's interesting. This is numerology and astrology. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you're 6 or 7, if your birth year ends in a 6 or 7, you might be a fire type, which is like heart, small intestine, pericardium. 8, 9, earth type, which is stomach and spleen, which is related to Saturn. It's interesting. And you think about it and you say, oh yeah, that's me. Anyway, it's very interesting. Astrology is very interesting. I wish I knew more about it. I'm learning a little more about it. Meridians are not connected to the body, but they're open-ended. When I was always learning Shiatsu, it was like the first point and the last point. Yeah, that makes sense. But, meridians sort of extend. They open-ended and extend to the ether body. So you touch with the expanded mindset, putting your attention in the auric field. Expanding your spine to open the perception of what you're doing. You're the observer. Okay, you're never thinking you're doing something. You're never fixing a person. You're always the observer. I'm asking for help somewhere. Okay, this is working with the multidimensional chi, which Pauline called it multidimensional chi. Masunaga used to call this the anti-pathogenic chi, and Kishi calls it seiki. Seiki. The intention is to open the expansion of chi, of the ki, for the person's highest good. And you never know what that might be. Just their highest good. Oh. Points to expand your consciousness. So when you're doing a treatment with somebody, we don't have to do a treatment now because it's too late. But when you're working with somebody, you're working with Bahui. Bahui is conception vessel 20. What do you call it, Japanese? I forget. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But at this point, it opens your consciousness, and it's not just this point, but it's also like 6 points around the crown. Okay. Of course, this is with the baby is born. This is when the fontanelle is closing. So a lot of times with newborn babies, they have a soft spot on their head. Yeah. But this is Bahui. This is governing vessel 20. This is the point of consciousness. I don't know if you're ever around people who are dying, but it's sort of like a gift to be around someone when they're dying. If you can do that. And I remember I was with my father when he was dying, and I would feel his legs, and there was no energy there. I would feel here, there's a little energy here. And then when he died, or was very near dying, the only energy I could feel was from this point here. So in theory, this is sort of where the spirit leaves the body. Okay? But 12 light points of the soul. But this is a wonderful point. And a lot of times when I want to make the treatment much more energetic, I'll start here. I'll usually go to kidney 1 and do some points on the kidney, just for a few minutes. And then I'll probably go to Bahui here and just do like 3 pressures when they're breathing out. And maybe just go to some windows of the sky points here, and then go to the heart, and then get a reading there. But this is a wonderful point, Bahui. Kidney 3, spleen 3, liver 3, all these wonderful points, on the foot. And, when you work on the ankles, basically you're calling energy down. Because a lot of people are top heavy. They're all up in their chest and shoulders. Okay? So when you work on, kidney 1, 2, and 3, liver 3, spleen 3, you're calling their energy down. That's literally what I'm doing, what I'm thinking when I'm working there. Let's bring your energy down here. And so a lot of times people's shoulder problems disappear when you're working on their ankles, which I love that. I love that. Okay. But this expands their consciousness, and it just opens up their energy. Because when people are stuck, they have pain. These other points here, CV2 and 3, just in the lower abdomen and on the rear, it's governing vessel 2 and 4, these points here. And same thing, the solar plexus, for the second chakra, CV2 and 4, CV8 and 12 for the 3rd chakra, governing vessel 5 and 6, just the points behind. You don't even have to know where the points are. Just do the areas, okay? Shanzong, CV17. This is one of the best points on the body. If a person's going to cry, they're going to do it when you hold this point. This point opens the heart. Okay, it's all like stored emotions, which are usually not pleasant emotions. Okay, and it's a letting go. But CV17, and opposite that is governing vessel 11. But the upper back is the emotional part. If she's all upset and crying, I'm going to hold her upper back, not her lower back or her shoulder. It's just sort of like a natural thing to do. CV22. This is this sternal notch, this intravicular ligament here in the sternal notch. This is the windows of the sky point. But, you press this here, and you don't press into the throat, you go down into the bone. This is a point, emergency point for asthma, just like with lung number 6, probably lung 6 around here. And you know it, because if you're working on lung meridian, and this area is like hard as a rock, you know they have lung issues. This is what they call an accumulation point in Chinese. Energy accumulates here. And so, a person having asthma attack, you do a hard pressure here and hard pressure CV22, and sort of calms down the breathing. Okay, but this is a window of the sky point, opens up your consciousness. It's a wonderful point. And Datsui, great hammer. Great hammer is C7T1. Okay, this is the point that goes with this one too. And this is an opening point for like the fifth chakra here, communication, metal, lung issues. Okay. Yin Tang. Oh, Yin Tang. This is the third eye. Wonderful point, Yin Tang. A lot of times I do these points with tuning forks. You have tuning forks. Yeah, tuning forks are very nice too. But this point here, and on the back, this is an amazing point here. Governing vessel 16. 15 is right between bladder 10. 16 is just a little higher. 15 and 16, they're both close and they're very similar. But this is a point that raises the person's consciousness. This is a point that puts them in another level of their reality. I always try and do this point. Okay? Yeah, you can do it from any position. Prone, supine, any position. But these are wonderful points to expand consciousness. Add these into like your treatment. Because these will change things. If you need to work hard physically on the body, do that. Do that. But then after that, they tend to soften, and their energy is more available to you. This is interesting also. More points for higher consciousness. GV number 20, bladder 10, gallbladder 20, gallbladder 16. Stomach 9. I want to talk about stomach 9. Stomach 9, you know what stomach 9 is? It's right in the front of the sternocleidomastoid, the SCM muscle. It's right here. This is a point that, and also I do this point a lot. I'll grasp a person's neck and sort of grasp the SCM and pull outward. You can work on the neck as long as you're not pushing in. Because then you occlude the carotid artery and it's not very good. But if you grasp the muscle and pull outward, and you're digging into a person's throat, but I can't tell you how many people have fallen asleep while I've been doing it. It is so relaxing. But what it does, it relaxes the anterior branch of the vagus nerve. And there's a couple books out about the polyvagal nerve theory. How there's a dorsal and the ventral branch. And the vagus nerve is the one that goes through to all the organs. Just about all the organs. So when you relax the vagus nerve, you're relaxing everything. So the stomach 9 is an amazing point to do. It's a wonderful point to do. If anybody doesn't know how to do it, I'll show you how to do it. Just grab me anytime in the next couple of days. Kidney 15, kidney 12. These kidney points. These kidney points are amazing. We all do kidney 27. And all of the kidney 27, 26, 25, 24, all these are wonderful points, and they all have to do with your spirit. They all have to do with your spirit. All the names are, transfer of the spirit, experience the beauty within, treasure of the God within. Kidney 15 is by the navel, flowing to the center, lateral to the navel. But all these points on the chest, and always do chest work. People need chest work. Work above, below the breast, work on the ribs, work outward, kidney points to lung 1. These are wonderful points to work on. Wonderful points to work on. Because, so many people so many people live their lives being a little afraid. You know what happens when you're afraid. You hold your breath. And you get all this energy stuck here. So when you do this, and I do fairly hard pressure here. All these kidney points all the way to lung 1 here, lung 1 and 2. And just open up the chest. And all of a sudden this pushes their energy down. Because they have all this energy here and they all have lower back pain. Because this is what happens when you're locking your knees and you're holding your chest. You're going to get lower back pain. Okay? Yeah. You can look at books about the vagus. This is a rather simple picture of the vagus nerve. But it sort of goes right through the SCM where stomach number 9 is. So when you work with this point, it's sort of incredible what happens. Because all of a sudden, all their tension dissipates. Okay? The last thing I want to talk about is what they call the microcosmic orbit. You know about this? But this is, basically this is recreating, it's almost like the birth experience. And, you have governing vessel on the back and conception vessel on the front. And in the middle is a penetrating vessel. And this, the penetrating vessel was basically the primary meridian that began with you with conception. And then the extraordinary vessels were created. But, from this primary channel that we access through the top of the head, and usually it's the bottom of the torso, but the point is too personal for people to use. But so usually we do this one here, and it goes down, and then from the bottom create the kidney, spleen, liver, meridians. And then the lung and heart meridians are created. So there's an energetic template of your body, and your body sort of fills in and forms around it. And this is how you start creating a body. But when you're born, of course, while you're still in utero, this circulates up the spine and down the front. And up the spine and down the front. And then when you're born, all the organs are formed and you take your first breath. And you breathe on your own and the cord is cut. And you're on your own. You're not in this warm, perfect environment. You're in this cold world, by yourself, breathing. That's sort of when the direction changes in Chinese medicine. But when you concentrate on a meditation with these points, you tend to recreate this birth experience. So you're going back to the time when you were perfect, when you were born. Everything is right and you're just a ball of consciousness. And a baby, probably for the first 2 or 3 years, a baby lives their life in like a dream state, where they never blink, because they're just taking everything in, they're forming their subconscious. It's always why, you have to be careful how you touch and talk to babies, because they take everything as, this is the world. Okay, so it patterns their life from that time. But, this meditation, this microcosmic meditation, tends to recreate this. And I learned this from Robert Peng. Robert Peng is Robert Peng. He's a wonderful guy. He does external qigong, which means he takes his qi and sort of injects it into you. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But when he does this, you feel like you touched a live electric wire. You get a shock. He would do this to me, he would touch me, and he would send his qi through me. I would feel like I was getting shocks. I had this knee problem one time, and he said, "How do you feel about needles?" I said, "Okay." So he put a needle there, and he was sending the shocks through the needle. I said, "Robert, that's a little too much." Because it really, it's like you've touched a live electric wire. You get a shock. That's what it feels like. But so he does this meditation, and anything Robert does, I just copy whatever he does, because he's a master. He's literally a master. He said he only knows about 6 other people in the world who can do this sort of thing. But this is external qigong, where he puts his qi into you. So he does this. He would do this to, create his own field, and it's very interesting what he does. It has to do with the pineal gland. Where you can create a sense of blue light within you, and you can create electricity within you. If you're activated to that extent, and very few people are. Very few people are. Yeah. But he is. He's the nicest guy. Anytime you're around him, you just feel happy. He and his wife, Dongmei, you just feel happy when you're around. But so he would start it, he calls it Xiao Dan Tian. Xiao Dan Tian, center here. And then we go to Hui Yin, which is CV1, the base of the torso. And then Wai Li, which is governing vessel 1, tip of the coccyx bone. And then we go up to Ming Men, which is the governing vessel 4. Then we go to Jia Ji, which is like GV9, which is like opposite CV17. Then we go up to Da Tsui, big hammer, C7T1. Then we go to Yi Tsen. He calls it Yi Tsen 15 or 16. Then we go to Ba Hui. We're opening up to your consciousness. And then Yin Tang, third eye. And then Chia Chao, typically where conception vessel and governing vessel meet, Chia Chao. Shanzong, the chest center. Chest center. Okay. And then again, Xiao Dan Tian. And I say these names because Robert, he would do this meditation where he would say the names. Because, names have power. Names have power. We use numbers a lot. But if I'm talking here and I say Kumiko, Kumiko's the only one who says, what? So when you say the name of a point, it sort of enlivens it. Okay? And it opens up, strengthens the flow of chi, opens up your crown to receive heavenly chi, opens up the gates at CV1, Hui Yin and Ba Hui. This is a wonderful meditation. I'll just put this on for a minute for you to listen to it. Maybe for 3 minutes, just to listen to it. Because if I can do this. I just have one more slide after this, then I'm done. Let's see, how do I start this again? So, when he would say this, you would concentrate on Ming Men. Here's my microphone here. So then you would bring your attention to this point. Da Tsui. So you get the picture. So he's sitting in a meditation, and I remember I was doing this, and he was teaching this, and all of a sudden he started chanting this. And of course, when you're sitting in a room and somebody's doing this live, it's more powerful. But you sit in a meditation, And you're just concentrating on these points. And if you're doing this home, you don't have to have anybody chanting. You can just sort of memorize this point, but put your attention here at Dantian, for 3 minutes. And then put your attention at CV17, Shanzong, for 2 or 3 minutes. And Yin Tang for 2 or 3 minutes. And you're enlivening up this pathway. Okay? And again, it's a powerful meditation. And the whole thing about increasing your consciousness, bringing forth the spiritual aspects of Shiatsu, is you becoming more conscious. So when you become more conscious, your clients do. Okay? And it almost doesn't really matter what you do. These are just this pathway here. Oh, so then after I do this a while, he would say to me, you can do a quicker version of this, where you just inhale up the back, exhale down the front. Inhale up the back, exhale down the front. So a lot of times I would just do that, before I start a treatment with somebody, which is powerful enough. And if you sort of know what you're doing, you're just inhaling and exhaling. You're circulating your chi. Basically, you're making your aura a little bigger, a little more powerful. Last slide here. Oh, there's a Weber infection law. This came from Patrizia Stefanini. I remember she said this. I thought, this is so interesting, because she knows all these physics laws. It states that the smaller the stimuli, the bigger the response. This means that changes introduced by a lighter touch are deeper and more profound. Interesting, huh? That is, doubling the intensity of what you do does not double what the client feels. A lot of times a soft touch is much more effective. I mean, sometimes people need to be pounded on. You can do that too. But just don't do that only. Because a lot of times if I'm doing something hard on a person, I'm going to do something soft. So they can soften and take it all in. Okay. Yeah, the whole thing, we're just influenced by so much of the consciousness of the planet and the consciousness of the universe. And this is sort of what's making things much more powerful in our treatments. So when you put your hands on somebody, expand your consciousness and they're going to expand theirs. And this makes things much more spiritual. And this is like the new reality of Shiatsu. If you look at Masanago do treatments, he was very physical. Look at Ohashi do treatments, he was very physical. Okay? And then you look at Kishi, who was so much off the body. You look at Pauline, who was way in another world. I still don't understand half the stuff she was talking about. But I keep reading it. Okay? I keep talking to her. Ask for help, always ask for help. But you're just going to change. It doesn't take, we're like in a whole area of like spiritual, it's almost like a warriorship, to sort of save the planet. And it doesn't take a lot of enlightened people to do it. Okay? You just need compassion and a clear vision and a clear intention of what you want to do. And I guess I just want to leave you with that thought. Anybody have any questions or thoughts? I know I said a lot, but thank you all for not walking out. It's been a lot. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. That was a lot. Yeah.
But we felt your passion.
Yes.
So much around.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, Tom, I do have a question. So
Joan.
I studied with Kishi, but I never had a treatment from him. Maybe Jade knows. Like, how did people respond? How did you feel after being treated by him?
Let's see.
You went out the room following your energy.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the problem with energetic work. A lot of times you don't feel anything. But you feel things. You feel different later. That's why Pauline would say this also, you know, because the problem with working energetically and off the body is people don't feel anything, but they feel better later, you know. That's why, you know, do some hard physical stuff and then work off the body too, and they'll remember both. Because, you know, I got a treatment from Kishi, a couple of treatments, and I gave him a treatment too. He said, "Oh, this is Zen Shiatsu you're doing." But, you know, he worked on me, and yeah, he did some work, but a lot of times I didn't know where he was. But I was just not trying to figure it out. I was just not trying to figure it out. Just sort of like take it in. Mm-hmm. It's a mystery. But there's a change. There's a change.
There's a wonderful clip you can find online of James Baldwin,
Oh,
who used to be a preacher when he
right,
was a kid.
right.
And he says the world survives on the love of very, very few people.
That's right.
Very, very few people. This love thing was never popular.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, all this stuff, you know, the better treatments are never the popular ones. Okay. Yeah, I have a new appreciation for James Baldwin. He was way ahead of his time also. He's a very spiritual person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so is Pauline.
I just wanted to share with you, you brought up Sedna.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Sedna.
Sedna
I knew you knew about this.
She's beautiful. She has an elliptical orbit, which is different.
Yeah.
And it is 11,400 years. And she is coming the closest she's been to Earth. So 11,400 years. But she goes all the way out to the Oort cloud.
Yeah, it's the Oort cloud.
She's bringing in amazing information for all of us. And she's just about, well, she just moved into Gemini.
Yes,
and
yes.
So these next 40 years, she's the closest to Earth.
Yeah.
So she's bringing in information all the way
That's
out
right.
there. So
The Oort cloud is in the Kuiper belt. It's the furthest, it's all like ice regions, the furthest of our galaxy we can imagine. But see, the last time Sedna was around, this is when people started to build communities, to keep animals, to have farms, rather than just being wandering around the world.
simultaneously, every 12,000 years, right, we're in the photon belt.
That's right.
We also have
That's
massive
right.
amounts of light.
Yeah. So there's massive starlight changes in our lives. And so, you know, in 50 years, I was reading something, it could be like breathing underwater or some things we can't even imagine now. But yeah, well, we're in that process, but, you know.
I don't know about breathing underwater.
But that's something outlandish. Sounds.
No, I don't mean that can't happen.
Yeah, good. But, you know, look up about Sedna and read their story. You know, it's an awful story.
Well, yes.
It's a terrible story. She's the Inuit goddess of everything in like Alaska and the Northwest. But goddess of the harvest, she is feared and revered by Inuit people because she's so powerful. Interesting how planets get their names. Any other thoughts or anything? Kumiko, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For,
Thank you
for letting me
Thank
speak.
you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Very
Thank you. Thank you.
wonderful. You inspired us to study.
Oh,
more
good.
and more.
I know. This is the beginning of the workshop.
So
Wonderful.
the microcosmic orbit I first knew about from Montauk Chia.
Yeah, Montauk
He's
Chia.
never become a big
Yeah,
person in the
Montauk Chia used to teach it. Montauk Chia used to come to New York in the 80s. Once a year, I used to go to him.
He lives in New York.
No, he lives in Thailand.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's very old. He must be 100 by now.
No.
He was old when I studied with him. But he would talk about the microcosmic. In fact, that last picture was from Montauk Chia's book. He talked a lot about microcosmic orbit. It's sort of like a forgotten meditation that Robert does and Montauk Chia does. Montauk Chia is an amazing Thai monk or priest or something, and he was like demonized for bringing secrets of Eastern healing techniques to the West. So he was like, and this was like in the 60s and 70s, he was like, oh, you can't tell Westerners our secrets. But he would do that. And anything you read by Mantak Chia is very interesting. Okay. Thank you for that. Joan.
One more thing, Tom. I would love it if you would share your slides. 'cause
Oh, anybody who wants this, I'll just give me your email address and I'll send it to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you sing the microcosmic orbit or?
No,
No, I mean, you don't.
I don't. I put on Robert's tape and I listen to him, or I'll just think it myself.
But with, let's say with the client.
Oh no,
No?
no. I never even thought about it. I just do I do so many other things. This is just something I thought you might use just to, open up yourself spiritually too. It's too much for clients. They don't know the points, they don't know the names, it's too much. It's too much work. People don't want to work. But it's a nice little meditation. But like I say, just meditate all the time. When you're eating a dinner, it's a meditation. Having conversation, everything is meditation. I used to study Aikido for many years. It's interesting because Masanaga and Ushiba, who developed Aikido, were contemporaries. And they both were want to put more peace in the world after World War II. And so Masanaga went towards Shiatsu, and Ushiba went toward Aikido. And if you know, Aikido is martial art, but it's like the most spiritual martial arts. You never even hit anybody. You just basically get out of the way. And your opponent goes flying to the ground or worse. But it's basically just get out of the way, moving your chi. Okay. But so when I would leave the Aikido dojo, you're walking down the street, basically you're still doing Aikido. Nothing like being slammed to the ground to wake up your chi. And it's also very nice to throw people around the room. Yeah. But I would leave the dojo and just walk around thinking, still that feeling of doing Aikido. So like when I would be in a Shiatsu class or something, I would still walk around feeling like I was doing Shiatsu. So like you're doing the treatment all the time. Everything is like in a thought form. Yeah.
You mentioned that they worked together, like before, as they were developing their respective fields. What did they do together?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Actually, if I could say something.
Yeah, please.
I'm kind of coming from a different direction. Originally with the macrobiology.
Yeah.
And Shizuko Yamamoto.
Oh yeah. She's wonderful too.
Yeah. So those folks, those macrobiotic folks, were contemporaries of Ueshiba, who actually was part of a very large cult, which is still very active in Japan, and they were big behind the world peace movement, and actually a world federalist movement, which I think was very different than some of the world government efforts at this point. But anyway, those early macrobiotic teachers and early Shiatsu teachers from that world were all part of this Aikido training.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that Aikido is actually the same thing